Brenna.
That would be me.
Hello, Brenna.
Here we are.
Who we
Can
is?
y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
What? So, welcome. You know what day this is. This is, in fact, the best day of the week. This is Bin's Day. And I am here with my fellow Binzers. Binzers?
Dumpsters.
Binnles?
No, Binsters.
Binsters. Okay. I'll go with Binsters. I like that.
Chucky Binster.
We have around our central character right now is, of course, our friend Tim Bristol. Hello.
Hi.
Ah, there we go. And then, of course, we have our what should we call you? The glue that holds us together, Mikey?
I'm the hate that binds us.
Okay, the hate that binds us. All right, let's go
The
with that.
ties that bind.
Mikey, and then of course our only I guess you would call landowner, the Lord Waker of Essex, Mr. Waynemaker himself. And then there's actually somebody who exists now, who we absolutely love, who is wearing a very cool hat, by the way. Cool little beanie right there. Look at that. Sexy as always. That's Jartan.
Sorry.
No, the hat. The hat is sexy as always.
No, sorry, I nearly sicked up a post.
The hat. The hat. The same one you're wearing right now.
He's on a bit of a delay.
He's on a bit of delay. Great.
No, he's muting himself.
Yeah, but I'm also on quite a bit of a delay.
Okay.
Trying to go into Twitch and share the stream was not a very good. And there we go.
He's right.
This is gonna be rough.
Please, guys,
Excellent.
just for a cup of coffee a day, you can get Jartan some internet.
Not the best internet. Yeah, it's okay. We'll still make fun of him with or without internet.
Can we get Sarah McLachlan to do some sort of advertising for us?
Look at that freeze. Look at that freeze.
Oh no.
There he goes.
Oh,
never mind.
there he goes.
So yeah, for the price of a cup of coffee a day, you too can help support Shark.
So
There's
what
an
we need to
internet
do-
shortage up there. There's an internet famine.
We need to get like some like black and white stills of Jartan looking sad, and do
And you
like
have to
do an
zoom
appeal.
in and then zoom out and then zoom in. Like,
Somebody get on that. That sounds hilarious. I'd like to laugh at that.
You too can sponsor a Jartan.
Just some slow motion footage of him.
mm-hmm.
That video of him dancing to Five in his kilt. Do you want to see him this happy again?
Because of course he drives a truck in a kilt.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Why wouldn't he not? Why wouldn't he not?
Look at our associates.
What we do.
There's a team over here.
He's listening to Five, driving a truck in a kilt.
They're
I mean,
close.
if you had a random dartboard of things to be doing, you would never hit that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a triple bullseye.
Exactly.
You've nailed
So
all
let's-
three of them.
Let's just dive on in there. What we all drinking?
I'm drinking pre-workout and water.
I have a tall glass of water.
Ooh,
Ooh.
I've got some strawberry flavored sparkly water.
Hey, Jartan, what are you drinking? Uh-huh.
Nothing.
I've got Shiraz.
Shocker.
So far, you're the only one drinking
Shocker.
alcohol on this one.
To be fair, it's 8:10 over here, so
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a little later than normal.
I didn't drink because I smoked earlier, so I'm good.
oh, okay.
Keeping yourself.
Mhm.
Mm.
I'm, the weed is making me drink a lot less, and that probably is good for my liver.
There you go.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
but not too good for your lungs.
Well, a little goes a long way for me because I never smoked really. Like I started smoking in 2020.
Maybe you should try the old brownies.
Oh, those will get you way more high. Like I try. That's where I started off with the edibles, and that shit got me so fucked up. I got stuck in this chair right here, and I had to call for help. I had to call my wife. I'm like, I can't move. I need you to help me. She's like, I'm coming to rescue you, because she was high as shit too. It was very funny, and we laugh about it, but we're like, we do not want to be that high anymore. Because I got hyper focused, and I watched 7 episodes of some random show. I don't like The Expanse or something. Like I just couldn't
Move.
get up to change the channel.
Um,
Couch. I got couch locked, and I couldn't stop watching it.
We have Jartan back from the tundra.
Hello, Jacqueline.
Yeah, this is going super well.
I agree.
Okay, should we get straight into it then?
Yes.
What are we getting into, Wayne?
Well, Brenna, you brought up the first topic, so
Wait. We're going out of
Oh.
order. Jartan called me last week, and while I was at work, which was very polite. Wayne does it to me at least 5 times a week.
Yep.
I don't know how he knows my work schedule. That's weird. He keeps nailing it every time, and he never misses. Jartan was looking for someone to talk about CRT and about how the right wing is going completely ballistic over it. And I was like, well, I don't know if we know anybody that's done that. And then by some stroke of luck, our partner here, Tim Bristol from Speaking from the Center podcast, actually took the course. So tell us your whole syllabus. You have 30 seconds,
so-
go.
I'm going to preface this by saying it's unfortunate that I'm a white guy in Black History Month, and I'm going to talk about critical race theory.
I'm just setting you up to get canceled.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm just going to get canceled.
Put in your comments now.
And
Yeah.
I just want to say for all the right wingers out there, this was a part of my master's program. It was not forced upon me. I took this course willingly. I was not indoctrinated.
But you would say that, wouldn't you?
I know.
That's just what the indoctrinated guy would say. You're right.
That's the
When-
part of the indoctrination. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, that little explosive implant injected into the back of your neck.
It's that microchip that I got in the COVID vaccine.
See?
All coming to light.
Track me. So the big misconception about critical race theory is that it's basically that everything about America is racist. And while there is a certain amount of that in critical race theory at its heart is a political theory. And just like all political theories, it has some parts that are good and some parts that are bad. And critical race theory as a whole doesn't just cover race. It covers gender bias, sexual bias, and a whole bunch of other things. Basically, if you are a minority, it sort of covers a sort of bias against you. The heart of critical race theory is that if you are not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, at some point in American history, you were a minority that was, let's say, not favored by the American system. And the class that I took was called Critical Race Theory, and the book that we learned from was basically a collection of essays about critical race theory, and the topics were various. I got some right here.
Oh,
let's see.
Don't come at us with facts and logic.
How dare you? What do you think you are?
I did not sign up for this.
I was told there would be no math.
Do we have to take a test at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, can you give us a critical race quiz?
A few of the topics that are covered. The first one I found that was interesting. These are all like the most interesting ones that I found. Property rights and whiteness. There was an essay called Desegregation as a Cold War Imperative, which is basically desegregation in the South was a foreign policy item for the American government during the Cold War because they didn't want to seem like they were treating people of different races worse to the Russians. So a part of the U.S. government compliance with desegregation was so they could seem better than the Soviets, which was interesting.
So the first point you just brought up was effectively propaganda.
Oh yeah. Well, to the American government, part of desegregation was propaganda against the Soviets, saying that America is terrible to black people.
Yeah, wagging their fingers, going, "Look at you, you horrible Russians."
No, we're not racist. You're communists. So get out of here, man.
Rather be a racist than a communist.
Yeah, any day of the week.
Next one, and it's sort of like one of the cruxes of critical race theory, is that race is a social construction, not a genetic imperative. Like, there's no genetic difference between a black person, a white person, a Hispanic person. It's like the most minute things. It's just the amount of melanoma in your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Melanin, not melanoma. That's cancer.
Yeah, not melanoma.
It's the amount of cancer you have.
And to be fair, I'm kind of proof that is true.
Yeah. and the entire essay.
That your cancer? Yes, this is true.
Walk right into that one.
And it spreads.
Walk right into that one.
And the entire essay is about how through history, basically, race has been a social construct. Is that people who are different colors are just seen as less than because that's what white people thought.
Now, I have something to push back on that. Like, because I do a lot of race talks in like the atheist community. Whenever they need a black guy, they call Mikey Bones Famine.
Someone get the Mikey phone.
Beep, beep. They're sending up the race signal.
Token.
Yeah, they put up the bat signal for me. It's just like Token from South Park.
Mike could be like this.
He's the token black guy.
I smell some race in the air. They need me.
My racist senses are going crazy. But the last thing I was on, it was like an MLK Day thing, and it was about biracial couples and being biracial. And my mom is biracial, and I'm in a biracial relationship. And then the first thing one of the guys said was like, "Oh yeah, well, race is just a social construct." I was like, "Sure, if you want to classify it that or label it as that, that's fine, but that doesn't make it any less real."
Yeah.
Like because our races determine our culture.
Right.
Mostly. And there are like tons of subcultures for black, white, Hispanic, whatever. Like, so I always struggle with when I hear people say that, because it's just, yeah, it's a social construct, but so is money. And you can't tell me that money's not a thing. And like money isn't important, and that there are differences in money, and some money is different like, you know what I mean? Like I don't it feels dismissive to me when I hear that.
There are certain viewpoints that money is not real. Like money is also a construct of people, and it's not actually real. Like the U.S. government can print as much money as it wants, and still exist. Like, but I get what you're saying, and the article does reference that even though race is a social construct, there is an ancestry that makes that up. There are slight differences like hair and some other features that make up racial difference.
And I don't agree that there aren't genetic differences between the races, because there literally is. Like your earlobe, your ear wax, the way your fingernails are, like there are certain racial traits, like especially hair texture. Like these things are differences between us.
Yeah.
That's not from nothing. That's not a social construct. Those are literal differences between the people.
Well, the crux of the argument from the essay is that it's a social construct because legally it's a social construct. Like in American law, race is a social construct. In the Constitution, race is a social construct.
Right.
So while people of different, ethnicities and races have different features slightly, to in American law in the past and somewhat currently, race is a social construct that really shouldn't be a dividing factor for people.
I agree.
100%.
Right. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't, but it is.
But it is.
We would all love to live in that. Sorry, Brenna.
That's always the talk between when we talk about, racist policies, when we talk about things like, diversity, right? The diversity quota. It's always, well, it shouldn't be about how many women you have. It should be about who's qualified.
Right.
But of course, being a woman, I would like not to be judged as a woman. I would like to be judged as a person, but that's not the society that we live in right now. And I think that those are like always those kind of questions about how do we deal with trying to treat everybody like a human, but then have those identity politic kind of situations.
Right.
And how do you do that?
Well, going off what Brenda said, critical race theory does also cover a lot of gender politics. There were several essays in here. There's one that's race and feminist legal theory.
Get in that mic, Tim.
Oh, I'm not close enough to the mic.
There you go, buddy.
So there's an essay in here called Race and Feminist Legal Theory. There's one called Gendered Inequality. There's Sexual Politics and Social Change. So there are a lot of gender-based essays that regard critical race theory. And there's also a lot of like LGBTQ stuff in here.
Yeah. So what is it that, because it's predominantly from the right or conservative leaning people, what is it that we think that is so makes CRT so fearful to them, and what are they so scared of?
I think the biggest misconception is that the right considers critical race theory to be teaching history in regards to race
Mm.
and teaching slavery and all that other stuff. And it's the misconception that they believe that American history is somehow infallible, when in actuality, American history is the brutal oppression of almost everyone. And if you, like I said, if you're not,
yeah, well, it stems from somebody's history.
yeah, if you're not white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, at some point in American history, you were oppressed.
Mm.
The Irish were oppressed. The Italians were oppressed.
Yeah.
Obviously, black people were oppressed. The Jews were oppressed at one point. The Catholics were oppressed at one point. So it's
Women
women
have been
all the time.
So who is speaking?
Wayne,
Oh,
do not play with your life so carelessly.
Wow.
Again,
So,
Thanks,
cancer.
Hang on.
Cancer.
Brenner, you did just dig my country out, which is for fair game. Because I just wanted to interject.
Where did we learn this from? Like, where did it all
I
stem
learned it
from?
from you,
stemmed
Dad.
And this
from European.
is where I wanted to interject, because there's been, especially over here, the BLM movement, which kind of filtered over from America. We had a group of people pulling down Edward Colston's statue and putting it in the harbour. And everyone was like, this is a guy that no one's ever heard of, like in the majority of Britain. But because it was then highlighted that he was a slaver and he benefited and earned his fortunes, and most of the stately homes that you find around like Norfolk and Suffolk were all kind of built on the back of the slave trade. People were like trying to deny history and saying, oh, you can't change history, blah blah blah, and trying to play it down, trying to say that this exceptionalism again, which plays out again with Americans' history. It's like, well, no, why can't you just admit that this shit happened and this went on, and this is how these certain bits of infrastructure came to be, because it came off the back of something really horrendous. We're not perfect. We're not, to coin a phrase, whiter than white. We did a lot of most of the bad stuff.
He said it.
We did most of the bad stuff, and that's me speaking as a Brit, regardless of this skin color. That's me speaking as a proud British man. I know that we did a lot of bad shit. The fact that my nan and granddad came over here after the Second World War and then was subjected to so much racism was because it's change. It's different. Everyone wanted to be this conservative way. And then when you start looking back at history and go, oh, hang on a minute, did we exploit these people? Yeah, we did, but yeah, that was back then. It don't matter now. So this whole critical race theory.
But if you don't mind, let me play devil's advocate for a second then. So when people follow the social accepted conduct of their time, can we judge them in the present?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
well, honestly, that's one of the big arguments around critical race theory, is that a lot of critical race theory came from the 60s and the 70s, and some stuff has changed, but there is still institutional bias, and figuring out what institutions, I mean, it's almost all of them still, but what institutions have the biases, like, the Justice Department, police departments, academia. There's a lot of institutional bias in colleges and universities when it comes to hiring professors or accepting students or affirmative action.
And there's a lot of institutional hangovers as well.
Yeah.
In the sense of something was in place at that time, and it's going to take generation after generation for redlining, for one, for that to dissolve and become in like some sort of weird social osmosis to be the norm. Because what we're having now is the fact that you've got school districts that were based on the red lines back in the day. Those red lines are now semi-dissolved, and there's more freedom of movement with regards to that. So those red lines are slightly going away, but they were still in place in the first place. So you have to wait generation after generation for that wrong to be corrected.
Well, I can tell you right now that, at least in this country, the reason why this is a problem is they don't want that pendulum to swing the other way so that things can be corrected. Like when it comes to dismantling all of the horribly regressive and shitty things of our past, well, I'm not paying for it. I didn't do it. So if you don't stop telling everybody that we did it, because I don't want to be part of fixing what somebody else did that I'm currently benefiting from.
I'm not the racist.
Right.
I didn't own any slaves. My grandparents didn't own any slaves. It's like, yeah, but you're missing the part that by this country having slavery and setting up the institutions that it did, you have permanently disadvantaged people. We need to remove those permanent disadvantages. Yep. Well, I'm not helping with that because I didn't do it in the first place. It's like, well, too fucking bad, guy.
Yeah.
And one of
the... that's not really what I'm saying, though. I'm saying that if you do something now, Mikey, that is perfectly legal in time, but in 20 years from now, that thing is illegal.
Well, that's
socially. Or not socially acceptable. Let's use that instead of illegal because it's a different. If you do something now that is socially acceptable at this present, but in the future will not be, should you be deemed a bad person because you're doing something that is socially acceptable now and is a part of the norm now, but will be frowned upon in the future? Should you be deemed a bad person?
It really, really depends on what it is. Because when it comes to owning slaves, I think that's kind of a hard line in the sand. But when it comes to eating meat, for me, that doesn't seem as bad, right? But maybe in 50 years, no one eats meat anymore because it's barbaric and it's unethical, right? So will I be called a meat eater? Yeah. Well, but I have to draw that line in the sand for myself. When it comes to like the words that I use on the show, do I drop F-bombs? Not the fuck F-bomb, but the other F-bomb. Do I drop those all the time? Do I call people the R word? Am I a shitty human being to the people around me? That I can control, and that I can predict that it's never going to be cool or acceptable again for me to call women toots and smack them on the ass and tell them to get back in the kitchen. Like that kind of shit has always been wrong, right? So whether it's now or later, I feel like I'll be on the right side of history. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at ethically and using the lens of morality, if you then say something now that you regret in the future because the moral compass has swayed over to this way, and you say, well, it was fine at the time, all you're doing is excusing bad behavior. Because if at that point you were saying it and then you don't recognize that you were wrong when morality catches up with you, that's when it becomes a problem. If you just say, oh, it was all right at the time, I think you're just kind of excusing your bad behavior. But if you say, do you know what, looking back on it on reflection and looking at how society has changed, you know what, I need to change as well. And if you do change, then that kind of gives you a leg up on that sort of morality sort of step ladder. But if you stay exactly where you are, no, bye-bye.
Right.
Well, and one thing about critical race theory is it's not all like the doom and gloom of white people are racist for this and that,
but they is, Tim. No, I'm just playing.
But it's also about like how change can happen, change that has already happened, and just recognizing like everyday biases that people have, and recognizing that everyone has biases and that nobody's perfect. So it teaches basically that people aren't perfect when it comes to perceptions of other people, and there's ways that people can change. And you know, it like I said, it's a political theory. Not everything about it is correct. Not everything about it is wrong. There's good and bad.
I mean, I'm going to totally hijack the running order here, but we have a very perfect example of this happening in real time just this week with the
What's
comments that Whoopi Goldberg made on The View. Now, she made some very clumsy and not very offensive remarks regarding Jewish people and the Holocaust. And then she was quickly educated, changed not changed her mind, but apologized for it and realized that she got it wrong, and grew by the fact that she got so much pushback from it. So can we now transition to
Yeah. Do you, Brenna or Wayne, I don't know if one of you can pull that for me because I can't open it right now. Can we pull like the transcript of the conversation or whatever? Because I've seen the clip. I didn't watch the whole episode because I am not watching an entire episode of The View. Sorry, guys, I won't do that.
What do you do on a lunchtime?
I'm not watching an entire episode. I had to just get the clips. And from what I can understand, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, what she was trying to say was that the Holocaust was not about race. It was about man's inhumanity to man.
Yeah.
That's the beginning, middle, and end of it. But in that middle, she kept repeating, "It's not about race," and then the people are talking over. It's not about race. It's about man. So I think she's talking about the larger point that people are nasty to each other and people do shitty things to each other. And
it's if you're different, if you have two different types of people, especially when it came to the Nazis, which were they were like a hyper Christian Aryan society, as we always say, and then the Jewish people who were considered less human, and then so they had the God's authority to wipe these people out. And I actually when I heard when I saw the little article about what she said, I understood where she was coming from. Because when we talk about race, we usually talk about black or brown. That's what we talk about when we talk about race. Now, the broader picture of race is, of course, a little bit more about where you're from and the social construct that you have developed in your your people, basically. So I understand what she was coming from. But because we're taking a larger view about what race is, I think that was where it went all wrong.
Yeah.
Because we know a little bit more about how race is defined, and we know a lot about how race is socially defined. And I think that's where the misstep was. And she said, like, I shouldn't have said that. Like, that was not my intent.
Yeah.
And I totally understand where she was coming from. So I'm not gonna
cancel Whoopi.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that, because if you're going to talk about somebody who understands race and how it has affected people, Whoopi Goldberg is a perfect example of how that happened, and she studies it. I mean, she writes about it. She her performances are about it. She talks about it a lot, and there's a reason why. She's very smart about those kind of things. So
I think she was trying to look at it as in a holistic term, as in look at the entire planet. But the problem is that ignores nuance. And the problem when you ignore nuance is you are going to offend a lot of people, and which she did. And those particular people pushed back on it because they were like, hang on a minute, no, it was definitely about race.
Right.
If you're Jewish and and someone tells you this is not about race, you're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear that. You're going to just be offended because it is massively offensive. Shartan, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, I'm just. Can we read the transcript? So, because I had no idea about this, I'd like to get the background as well.
Okay, I'll pull the transcript. Talk amongst yourselves, and I'll try and do my best Whoopi Goldberg impression.
And while we're
no.
doing that, we also we're talking about specifically what is happening in Tennessee with the why we called this episode, Burn After Reading, is because of the book banning that's going on again, because that's how conservatives sort of make their way into the media, right? Is that they go to these school boards, which are as Tim understands as well, as how important school boards are to the overall society and how we raise the children of America here, that we need we cannot have this type of conservative takeover of that's where they go first. That's where they take over first, the school boards. And this is the perfect reason why they can ban books. I actually have a couple of banned books in front of me if you guys are interested. I got Brave New World.
Okay.
Aldous Huxley.
Lovely book. It's hands down one of my favorites. And of course, George Orwell's 1984, another great one, as well as George Orwell, Animal Farm. What is it? I just watched the movie. Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, that's a good
Very
one.
good.
But again,
Handmaid's
what's
Tale.
wrong? What's wrong with 1984? I don't get it. What's the problem?
I mean, yeah, it's not about us. It's about England, so I don't really get it.
I don't really
It was
care.
George Orwell said it was a comment on Soviet era communism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just made it even more dystopian.
It references communism, so therefore, it is bad.
And not to correct you, Brenda, did you mean Texas?
No, it was Tennessee. It was Tennessee.
It was both, I think, actually.
Okay, because I was like looking,
Texas,
I was like re-looking at the link, and I was like, "Fuck, did I fucking have it wrong in my head?" But it could literally be either one of them. It's both of them. We've decided.
Yeah, so,
it's literally all the same. Like, it's all the same sort of people that are going by and these are the same types of people who wouldn't allow evolution to be the only science taught, where these were the creationist people. You have to give everybody a choice. And in this case, the book that is sort of at the top of the list now is Maus. Maus. If you guys are not familiar with this, it is a graphic novel depicting how Nazis, I believe in this case, the Nazis were cats. And then the mice were the Jewish people, and it portrays, Nazis as being bad, and the mice in this case as being suppressed, which included being stripped down naked and put into various situations, such as I believe group showers, as well as the gas chamber. Which I just have to say, the funniest part about it is that Maus is now at the top of the Amazon bestseller list right now.
Everybody wants to know.
Funny that.
Which usually is kind of a counter to when these things happen, these books get sold. But I would really like to know, what is the reasoning? Why do they want to ban these books? What is the problem with them?
That's a good question, because what I have read about why Maus is deemed to be on this list is it depicts mice in nude form. I think that's the outward purpose of it.
So if the mice were clothed, that would eliminate the problem.
Yeah, the mass murder and all that. That's
no.
By the by.
It's the nudity of the mice.
It's all conservative pearl clutching.
Yeah. Can I just quickly circle back, because Jartan asked for the transcript, and I've just pulled it up.
Yes.
So what Whoopi Goldberg said, and this is quote, with regards to the Holocaust. No, it's not about race. And then Joe Behar comes back with, well, they considered Jews a different race. Whoopi Goldberg then comes back with, but it's not about race. It's not about race. Joe Behar, well, it's not. Well, what is it about? Whoopi Goldberg then comes back with, because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about. And then Whoopi Goldberg continues to say, I said the Holocaust was not about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it was indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered the Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know, and you'll know, because I have always done that. So that was her response to the pushback that she got. And as we've all kind of gone over, what we understand what she was saying, but we also understand the offense that she caused by saying the words that she did, because it completely diminished a certain group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, those certain group of people are massively offended by that, because it happened to them.
Yeah.
And you can't tell anyone how offended that they can be.
Right.
You do not, outside of any group. Like, if someone says something racist to me, you can't tell me that I can't be offended by that as someone external of that particular group. You can't. That's just fact.
I could tell you that. It would
group.
make me a piece of shit. Could tell you that.
There's that like glorious
Is
connection.
that delay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delay.
It's
Mikey?
I don't know. I get why she apologized. I get the apology, but to say that like the Jewish people are so nuanced, I'm like, but that ignores the nuance of her statement. Like, she wasn't saying that. Like, she wasn't saying it the way I think we all kind of talked about, like how she was, what her ultimate point was. Was it a bit clumsy? Yeah. Was it really easy for fucking Sean Hannity to soundbite that shit up and talk about how much he's always loved the Jews, and then another fucking joker got on there and talked about how she should have been, she's done this stuff in the past and she needs to get out of there, and I'm glad they suspended her, but and suspending her for that, that's fucking bullshit, yo.
Well,
Because
I heard,
no one fucking suspends Joy Behar or fucking McCain's daughter. No one suspends her for the fucking wild shit that they fucking say. But
well,
but now
I
she
heard
has to be fucking
one
brought up
commentator
and fucking
today
told.
take on the fact that, why is she taking the name Goldberg? This was a Jewish reporter. Why is she taking on the name Goldberg as her stage name? And I was like, you kind of shot your own fox there, mate, because you're making an argument against her that she holds Jewish people in such high regard, and you're saying she doesn't, but which she's adopted the name Goldberg as her stage name. Like,
She has
come
Jewish
on.
heritage, Isla says.
No, but but it's not her. Like, she's specifically taken that name, and this is what the guy was arguing about. Oh, she's taking the name Goldberg because it has such prestige. Okay.
But that's patently false. She
No, but go on. Sorry.
Isa says because she has Jewish heritage and she wanted to honor that part of her life. When let me see here, when she started working, I looked it up. She said in the past she took the name Goldberg because she assumed it'd be easier to get work within Hollywood with a Jewish sounding name.
There you go.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah, go ahead, Jotin.
So, I don't know how badly I'm lagging, but what I think that we often forget in this modern climate and the way that we talk about things is context and intent.
Yep.
Right. So she said something that some people took offense, and she didn't double down on it. She went, "Yeah, sorry,
Right.
I fucked up." And for me, that is good enough, because we get clumsy in our words and we say things that make people react to it without us having that intent.
Mm-hmm.
And when, as you said, Sean Hannity takes these things out of its context, it sounds a lot worse than it is. So context and intent matters. And when
Yeah.
and then they go
But
like, why do you not react the same way when people say something and they explain it later? It's because a lot of, especially the conservatives and the right wingers, they double down on their statement. It's a non-apology.
Right.
Mm. Yeah,
They say,
it's a classic. I'm sorry, but
yeah, they spend more time trying to explain intent, but they never say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody." They never say that, and that's the big difference. If you say, "I didn't mean to offend anybody," and then keep on offending them, it's by saying the same thing. It kind of becomes mute.
it's that the conservative sort of idea of the self, right? That you're self-governing, that you don't need to worry about what other people think or feel or what their worries are, while a more liberal progressive person would feel more about like the rest of the world, as we sorry, we're technical issues coming up,
I'm gonna
everybody.
beat him.
But yeah, exactly. It's very pretty to have the little Skype symbol. Anyway, there is definitely a difference between like the being able to go, oh, I said something that offended enough people that maybe I should rethink what I'm saying and apologize for it, while a conservative will go, I says what I says.
Right.
Well,
And we definitely see that.
There's a certain amount of like gotcha-ism to it too.
Right.
Like there's a lot of people that saw her say that and were like, well, she fucked up, so now we're gonna pile on. So
Yep.
Yeah.
especially in conservative media, it was everywhere on conservative Twitter, and it was everywhere on liberal Twitter. Like everyone piled on, and I'm sure that's why she got suspended, because there was such an outcry
Right.
on both sides saying whatever. But I mean, essentially, it's a non-crisis, because I agree with Mikey. Like she said something that was vaguely bad, and she said she was sorry. Shouldn't have been suspended for it, because McCain says crazy shit all the time.
All the time.
It's very reactionary. It's
Yeah.
kind of the way that our world has become, and like the way that social media has really helped develop this, and the the 24-hour news. We look for the clips, right? You look for those sound bites, and she had a sound bite.
Yep.
And then that's what they weren't talking about, the nuances or what the deeper meaning, or why she would say something like that. It's only what she said, and it's only that little piece of it. And this is where these, going back to like these book banning things that are going on, it's not about the context of the book or what is being said. It's that there's nude mice in this because it's a graphic novel. It's not that there's something deeper and worse about it, like, I don't know, people being murdered by a government. It's not like, they don't look at it like that. They look at the words. They look at what is being said, and about who, and how the lifestyle is, and how the people are. And you look at banned books from the past, and you see why they wanted to ban a book, about let's say, depictions of homosexuality because of these morality laws that we used to have. And it goes back to that. It goes back to, it's not about what is being said, it's what is on the surface. It's not the deeper meaning, it's what's outside. And that's what they go for.
No,
do you not think it's about... Sorry, Jartan, go on.
So, do mice regularly wear clothes in America? Because they don't here.
Yes, we clothe all our mice.
Yeah,
We're not savages.
Very indecent.
Yes, it's such a weird thing. Are they also gonna, object to the fact that Donald Duck is not wearing pants?
No, it's
But
He's been a menace for a long time.
it's
No,
a
he's a predator.
They had a problem. What was it? It was on Fox News. They had a problem with Minnie Mouse wearing a pantsuit.
Oh yeah.
Like it's these very weird sort of ways in which culture they have this culture war going on, and it's
Jartan,
about
stop it. We're going to lose viewers.
it's literally about controlling people's ideas. It's about controlling people's thoughts.
And I don't know if you guys covered this last week, but the right had a big problem with how sexy M&Ms were.
I was about to say that.
So,
Yeah, that was weird.
Yes.
Wait, what?
I guarantee Sean Hannity's hard drive is full of hentai.
Sean Hannity and Fox News had a problem with redesign of the M&M's characters because it made them less sexy, and it made them.
It's that damn green M&M.
Yeah, and the M&Ms are trying to be more inclusive with their characters, and they had a huge problem with that. And it's like, really, guys, find a real problem. Find something that's real.
They also lost their shit when Mr. Potato Head became Potato Head.
Yeah.
What is it with
it's all won't someone please think of the children when
it's also the conservative name. It stems a lot from that, in which things are not supposed to change. We are as we've said, we are a white Christian nation, and if things deviate from that, then it is considered bad. It needs to be stopped.
No one likes deviants.
Anything that is not how it was before. Like we can't change what is it? Oh my god. Icons, like food icons, like Uncle Ben.
Aunt
like
Jemima.
Exactly, that's the word. Like if that's a change because it's not their fault that it's a racist term. It's how it was. It's how it's always been, and it's how it always should be.
Bigger than that, Father Christmas, or as you guys call him, Santa Claus. He always rocked up in a green suit until Coca-Cola come along and just went, yeah, we're putting him in red. He's on brand. I don't give a shit about that.
I mean, whenever I think of Santa, I want a Coke. I'm just saying.
But I might be slow. Well, I am slow. So no.
Delayed. We'll call it delayed.
Yes. A bit behind.
Delayed.
A bit behind. But I just don't get it. So what is the problem with 1984? Why do they want to ban that book?
Why not?
I think it's sort of a lump sum thing with Orwell and Animal Farm in 1984 and his other books. Like 1984 itself probably isn't offensive to the right, but when you put in all of Orwell's works together, they don't like the thoughts that are provoked by those books.
I think the general idea is dystopians, and you see that dystopian novels are often the ones that are being banned because of what they show society as not just imperfect but dangerous. and the things in which a society of trying to control people, which like Brave New World is a great example of how a society is built on control. It's built on this needs to be done this way. This is your class. This is how you're supposed to act. And if you go beyond that, then you're gonna be, reprogrammed, basically. And then once somebody steps out of that and becomes the rebellious person, and they find other rebellious people that cannot be controlled, and then it becomes the dangerous. And you can see that there's the list of banned books or challenge books, they call them, are mostly things that we would consider very, very poignant and they philosophical. Animal Farm is one of them because it deals with authoritarianism. Handmaid's Tale about
they definitely don't want
sexual-
you to read Handmaid's Tale because that shit's coming.
I think it's deeper than that. I think it's deeper than that in the sense of if you look at certain elements of 1984, the fact that you have O'Brien who's trying to sort of like write his own words down away from his telly screen, so he can't be seen
Spoiler
by
alert.
the masses.
Yeah, God.
The book's
I'm pretty sure
years old. If you
1934.
haven't read it,
if you haven't read 1984, you need to read 1984.
Yeah, but the fact that he's trying to sort of like break away and not be monitored, and then you also got the 2 minutes of hate where you have to have the baddie. The baddie doesn't actually exist, and it's Oceana, I believe. No,
The Bene Gesserit.
yeah, Oceania against Eurasia, and you've got this war that goes on behind this wall of film that you do not know that even exists. They're just putting this propaganda out to you, and you sit there and you get angry, and then you pick up a newspaper and you get angry, and if you can join the dots in those parallels, you actually realize that you're being taken for a mug. And that's why power structures that we have do not want you to read these dystopian literature, because it makes you realize that you are being taken for a mug. And all of these articles that you read that get you angry and make you phone up talk radio and get you exercised, and you go down the pub and you go, isn't this disgraceful? And then you go home to your house and you're like, yeah, everything's cool.
Yeah. I know that you guys didn't want to be the Doomcast, but
it's okay.
They banned those books because they don't want you to realize that you fucking live in a dystopia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, America is kind of a dystopia at this point. Look at all the stuff that happened with Trump. There are a lot of similarities between what happened in 1984 and some of the shit that Trump did.
Yep.
So,
Jatan?
No, Tim wasn't done.
Oh, sorry. Again, delay. Sorry.
Saying, so, all the stuff you were talking about like the 2 minutes of rage, that's a Trump rally, and people getting angry at looking at the news media.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Oh, and
that's all to get you riled up.
Alert.
We were never at war with Eurasia. We were at war with this other. That's what happens in America. Mm-hmm. That shit happens, and I know people like, oh, that's hyperbole. You're taking that out of context and everything, but that shit does happen.
You're an alarmist, Bristol. An alarmist.
We live in a fucking dystopia.
I also think that a bit of my confusion around the topic why right-wingers want to ban that book is because over here, whenever I see somebody quoting that book, it's always a right-winger. Right? And that's why I'm a bit confused. They love to quote 1984 George Orwell. Yeah. And I promise you, 99% of people who quote 1984 on Twitter haven't read the book. Yeah. Because, yeah.
The other reason that they quote it because it talks about control, and when it comes to control, they're looking at this cancel culture and look, they're trying to silence us and all this kind of stuff. But then you get a complete backlog of other things where the right are trying to cancel the left, and they never acknowledge that. You can't say that. This Whoopi Goldberg thing is a perfect example.
This
They're
book
trying
banning thing is a perfect example. This is cancel culture at what it actually is, where it's not just, oh, we're going to attack them on Twitter and have them,
Right.
banned from it. This is literally a systematic deletion of these books, this literature that is supposed to be teaching us about how other people were treated, or how we're not supposed to, we're not supposed to allow people to control us. Like, this is not cancel culture as a culture. This is cancel culture as an actual, like a cultural cancel.
Like a society.
It's it
Society culture.
and if you
yeah,
look,
we don't want to hear you.
exactly. And if you look at some of these books that they have been banned over the years, we do have our regular sort of dystopias, but we also have people talking about gender identity, about feminism, about even things as simple as death, and having to deal with that, and asking religious questions, challenging religion. These things, there's a reason why. It's because when you allow people, especially kids, especially young people, to actually get information, that they're more likely to sympathize with other people.
Right.
That they're going to be more inclusive about race, about religion, about gender identity, about immigration, and they're going to be more open to those ideas. And that is what's scaring these parents, these adults. And thus they go to their media friends and they start making Sean Hannity red in the face.
I make you 100% right there, because during the Brexit campaign over here, every time I went into London, there was posters of vote Remain, vote Remain, vote Remain. When I used to go out to sort of like the rural parts of Essex, there were billboards in farmers' fields that had been handmade saying vote Leave, vote Leave. And these people in the vote Leave areas had the least experience with any immigrants whatsoever. The people in like London, Manchester, Bristol, all these other cities, Glasgow, Edinburgh, because they were more cosmopolitan, they were like, what are we doing this for? But because of all the stories that were fed out from London to say that immigration's bad, they're taking us over and we're not going to be Britain anymore. All the people who had no experience of immigrants or immigration were more fearful of people coming in that they knew nothing about. And that is the entire reason that we got this vote Leave to happen. And it's just, and now it's all blowing up in our face. So well done, everyone.
Well, I mean, if
Oh, go ahead, Tim. And then I got a closing remark from Isla. I think this is really good.
Okay. All right, I'll keep it quick then. If you look at some of the other books that they're quote challenge books or banned books, I mean, you got the Great Gatsby. It's about class. To Kill a Mockingbird. That's about racism and the legal system. Lord of the Flies, Ulysses, all these other books, they're challenging people's critical thought abilities. And between that and the anger against critical race theory, what the right is really trying to stop is critical thinking and being able to accept other ideas. And
nailed it.
Yeah, that's really the heart of the argument, is that they don't want things that challenge people's beliefs to be taught in schools. That's all. That's what they don't want. And you can, any of the books on this list challenges some sort of preconception, some sort of status quo that they don't want challenged.
But I also think there is that, and that is the reason, that is the internal reason that a lot of these are being banned, is because they are challenging. But on the surface, they have to have a more scarier sort of ideas. Nudity, language, violence. Yeah. Like, these are the reasons why it's easier to get people to hate something because of nudity, right? Because it's bad, and kids are not, we're deemed to not allow kids to understand sex. Like, these are things that we have told our children that they can't learn about sex. They can't learn about drug use. They can't learn about murder. That this is the bad part. And so you find those little parts, you go through and you find where these things are and say, look, you can't have your children reading about sex. This is bad. They have a sex scene in here. They talk about assault. They talk about drug use. We can't have this. But in reality, it's about it's about a challenging gender identity. It's about challenging religion and challenging what it means to be a person, basically. And so, yes, there is that internally. Yes, it's about challenging. It's about the critical thinking. But on the surface, they have to find a better excuse, because nobody's going to say, well, we don't want our kids to think about, how they fit into this society. That's exactly what school is.
They're not going to do that yet. Just give it some time. Start saying that.
All right. So we got a couple comments here. Thank you for everybody that's been hanging out in the chat. On this one from Aisa, it says it's also a more authoritarian approach, the banning, and got the things in the way. And the best way to raise kids that are compassionate and inclusive is to make sure they engage with a variety of types of people when they are young. My personal feeling was that it was less useful to censor their media than to help them integrate it. If they wanted to watch and read something I was concerned about, I would watch it with them or read it or ask them about their experience. Then last one here, just lost it. There it is, found it. Dr. Hassan just talked about this on his new podcast. Oh, I'm not promoting someone's podcast. You tricked me. If you raise your kids...
you mean the Bin podcast? He was on the Bin. Yeah,
on the Bin.
Dr. Hassan. Yeah. Check out that episode in the backlog. If you raise your kids in an authoritarian manner without teaching them to think critically, then they will be easily exploited by some other authoritarian human when they leave the nest.
100%.
Well said.
And as someone who has a daughter who's a very impressionable age and influenced by media, yeah, it's all about getting in there and actually like asking the question, why do you think that?
Right.
Where did you get that from? Let's talk about this.
Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Ain't nothing but a party.
Thank you, Mikey. Mikey took
I never want to hear you say.
Mikey took that and made it his own.
Mikey, with me. Up, reach and pull.
Right to the heart.
Yes.
Look away and then
wait. I found one.
All right, I think that's all we got this week, guys. So you guys know where to find us. Check us out on all your favorite social medias. That includes Twitter at BinPodcast, YouTube youtube.com/BinPodcast, twitch.tv/TheBinPodcast. Brenna, anything to send us home with?
Don't forget to find us on Patreon if you really, really enjoy what we do and you want to see a little bit more of us behind the scenes.
Ooh.
Giggity.
I got one more. Mikey. Look down. Look up.
I hate you.
Full-day class resumes next week.
Okay.
I found it again.
I have an idea. All right. For Patreons only, we need to have a boy band class by Wayne.
Ooh.
And Scott.
Oh yes, and we'll make it an exclusive for patrons.
How to be a boy band member.
What you mean Scott from Five, who have just released their new album this week?
Nice. Oh, I'm gonna jam that shit out right
We're-
now. What you talking about?
We're gonna. We should totally connect
Time.
those together. So yes, I think we should do it. Anyway, find us on patreon.com/TheBinPodcast. Of course, find us on the Twitch. You probably even subscribe to us on Twitch. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
For some subs.
Like,
Give us
share,
your Bezos bucks.
comment.
You can subscribe to us through Amazon Prime now as well.
Yes, you could do that. Please prime it up, baby. Give us your primes.
So much. And Tim, tell everybody where they can find you and your lovely show.
Ooh, okay. So on my Doomcast called Speaking from the Center, me and my co-host Nolan, on our last episode, we talked about the possible Russian invasion of the Ukraine. And what else did we talk about? Oh, the Irish fisherman who thwarted the Russian Navy. Which is hilarious. Look up that story because it's funny. But yeah, Speaking from the Center, you can find us on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and Patreon, patreon.com/SFTC. And I will put the links in the chat for the rest of it.
And
Awesome.
Tim and I are also going to venture into the world of proper sport, professional wrestling.
Oh God.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to try and sort it out this week, Tim. Clear my schedule for us to have a proper deep dive into professional wrestling, the art that is professional wrestling.
I'm gonna wind Wayne up so much, it's gonna be hilarious.
So are we?
You heard it here.
But are we talking about like Hulk Hogan wrestling or Spandex Man wrestling?
Yes.
Professional.
All of the above.
Okay.
It's entertainment.
To Libre or nothing. That's it.
I'm sure Kurt Angle will show up somewhere. Get your spandex, Phil. All right, so guys, for everybody here at the for everyone here at the Bin Podcast, we love you. Take care of each other. Be safe, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.